Hello, everyone. I'm Eric Cox. I'm a member of the Netcapital team. Let's allow one moment for everybody to settle in, and then we will begin our May demo day. Thank you so much for joining. All right. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for joining. Again, I am Eric Cox, and welcome to Netcapital's May Demo Day. Today, we have 5 companies presenting. That includes Guardian Athletics, BioVerge, Issuer Pixel, EnergyX, and Finlit. We're going to start off with Guardian Athletics, but before we do that, a couple of quick housekeeping items. Although this is largely presentation, we'd love for you to ask any questions that you have for the participants. And so please do use the Q&A feature built into Zoom. I know there is also a chat feature, but Q&A makes it so much easier to make sure that we get to as many questions as possible. And we do want to make sure this is interactive, so please do ask those questions. Also, this is being recorded and will be uploaded to the Netcapital YouTube account. I will add a link to that shortly. And of course, each of these presentations is actively raising capital right now on netcapital.com. And so you can go to Netcapital, search for the name of the companies. I will also add the direct link to each company right when they start presenting. So that really covers all of our basics. But with all that being said, please help me welcome David Norris to Guardian Athletics. David, why don't you come on in here and tell us about what you're building with Guardian?
Thank you much. My name is Dave Norris. I'm the CEO of Guardian Athletics and speaking on behalf of our entire team. On the line with me is our founder, Jeff Chambers. He's a certified athletic trainer with over 40 years of experience, and he has designed our technology. We're Guardian Athletics, an innovation-driven company built around the belief there's a better way to approach football safety from concussions, neck injuries, and other catastrophic injuries on the field. It starts with the brain. We've all played, coached, trained, and watched our entire lives. Now, while helmets provide a protection for the head, the brain can still move, and we know the concussion is not a head injury, it's a brain injury. Innovation in safety gear is still lacking and has not addressed the frequency, severity, and recovery times tied to head and neck injuries. For us to win again, we have to address the real problem, the brain, not just the head. We believe there's a systematic approach to player safety. Certainly helmets are part of this, and proper tackling techniques, rule changes, strength training, and so much more. But the critical issue facing sports right now is brain injuries, and this must move to the forefront of the discussion. Rapid acceleration, deceleration can happen after any impact. Think of your helmet as a car. You can get in an accident. The technology is important, but everyone knows that the seatbelt and airbag are critical in slowing the passenger down after impact. They work as a safety system of protection. It becomes clear why we work when you understand that we are the safety system working with the shoulder pads and helmets to protect the brain inside the skull. Here's the magic. We allow players to perform without any restriction. Players can move. If they can't move, they won't use technology no matter how well it works. Cato collar decelerates the head after impact, any impact. It's critical to note that concussions and other injuries are not just blows to the head, they're impacts to the brain inside the skull. After a hit, the head moves. We slow it down. It's that simple, and it is beyond effective. We embedded our technology everywhere in 2019. We have dozens and dozens of testimonials from players, coaches, parents, athletic trainers, all lauding our effectiveness. The reason we have traction is we do exactly what we say we do. We protect the player after impact while still allowing for that high level of performance. And don't lose sight about how important that high level performance is. Our design allows us to be used by every single player, not just injury players. This moves us to a spot where we can be seen as prevention, not return to play from injury. Beyond football, we'll be working with enhanced testing, with injury-leading research. We'll extend to all impact sports, such as rodeo, lacrosse, hockey, extreme sports, and even military. Our mission is safety. Currently, our market is about 1.3 million participants in the NFL college and high school ranks. With a combination of single unit sales and large-scale renter programs, we'll gain enough revenue to branch into the youth market. Youth adds about another 3.8 million participants, but will require some design updates. Surprisingly to many people, there's approximately 2 million football players in 90 countries worldwide playing American football. To tap that market, we need no design changes at all. This all becomes a major hit when the idea of prevention sinks in and we become the next mandatory piece of equipment. We feel that our investors are not sitting on a collar that will sell a lot of units. Our investors are beginning of an entire new category that ramps up quickly from football. We've adopted our model to create safety as a service. We know that individual sales are great, but a full team renting for the entire team leads us to both recurring, predictable revenue and that move from return to play and injury to prevention. That is the big win. We have a tight core of experts in their field helping us move the ball down the field, from the NFL to the medical community. A great example is our marketing team was key in moving a small local popcorn company, Boom Chicka Pop, to a nationwide powerhouse and a $285 million exit. I think everyone can see our use of funds and plans on the Netcapital portal. We're about to launch. We have about $300,000 in paid for inventory along with a great base. We need to attack the market, get with insurance companies, build a medical team, look towards legislation and rule changes. This all takes capital. Thankfully, 2020 is behind us, and we're looking towards 2 years to hit profitability. We expect $20 million in sales by year 4 and $40 million in recurring year-over-year revenue from the recurring revenue model as we begin to hit our goals. Armed with 2 patents, 6 prototypes, 2 years of field testing, biomechanical testing, a robust team, and most importantly, the joy of being in the world of football. It puts us in a great place. So if you love football and you care about it, we would love you to join us as we move the ball down the field as a team. We're wide open for whatever questions you may have.
Thank you so much for that, Dave. And I know you have another team member on the line here, is Jeff. Jeff, with your experience as a trainer, really being on the field, can you talk a little bit about how your experience has led to the real design of this product?
Yeah, in fact, it is my experience as an athletic trainer that led to the design. I had the idea a long time ago for a device that would slow down the head. And that is what I set out to do because I couldn't find one. Most of the things that were out there, the discovery of head injury is caused by motion. So most of the things out there that were designed to block the head or prevent the head from moving basically blocked the head and then abruptly stopped it, which didn't do anything for concussion or even the neck injuries that were occurring. So that design had to be very light, discreet, and also allow for full motion for the athlete to be able to perform. And that's what we came up with. And it's working out there. Players that wear it are extremely surprised about how much motion they have and how well it has worked to prevent the neck injuries that occurred in football, Burner Stinger. But also we have testimonials of kids that were going to quit playing football and it has stopped. They've kept playing because they haven't got another concussion.
And when you talk about it, it really works. Can maybe Dave or you can continue along, Jeff? Can you talk about the traction that you've had and kind of some of you don't have to name names, but how much penetration have you gotten into the market already with the existing product?
We had that slide up and it was pretty quick. I apologize for that, but we're closing in on 100 colleges, and we have about a dozen NFL teams that all have the collar or collars. For example, Stanford has about 20 of them. If you watched any of the NCAA last year, the college championship football series, little team that's orange and white had a linebacker that had trouble staying on the field along with his backup. It's everywhere. And the key thing is we've been finding is the lineman for the Cowboys, 8-year Pro Bowler Teron Smith, we'll drop his name, right? He had such bad burner stingers, he couldn't stay on the field. He couldn't practice. He'd have to come out every other play, and he swears by it. So we're seeing now that we've gone through that proof of concept phase, and by getting it on enough bodies, it's really, really had a great impact. And that's the next step. Now that we're starting to get calls from people saying, hey, I saw this on a team we were playing against, and it's really, really driving things now.
And one of the things I think I always kind of resonated really well with me, as a former athlete, I don't know, I can't really even call myself that, but as somebody who appreciates the game, let's say, is your kind of strategy of growth. Can you tell me about the future of Guardian Athletics and where you want to go, not only from a demographic standpoint, but kind of as a technology standpoint?
Yeah, for sure. And so right now we're focusing on a market that's very predictable. The college, NFL, and larger high school market is very predictable with their models. But we really believe that once it becomes a preventative model, our next step is designing a product that fits better in the youth market. This product fits in shoulder pads, right? Well, the little kids, the important ones with the little developing brains, there's 2 sizes of shoulder pads and 40 sizes of kids. We're working on a product that fits to the body and not just the shoulder pads for them. So the evolution is going to go down 2 paths, youth and international. And once we develop a little traction there, then we're going to start spinning off divisions that tackle other sports and other, for example, the best one for us is extreme sport. There's 23 million kids on skateboards and snowboards. That's a lot more than 3.8 million football players.
Yeah, and to add to that, I think our goal with football is to get it to be a mandatory piece of equipment. It's working so well on the prevention of concussion that we want kids to play. So we want it to become mandatory to allow them to play.
Absolutely. And with this last minute, can you dig a little deeper into this kind of rental program and how that really changes the dynamic on the team, especially for the trainers and the equipment managers?
I'll grab this one. So what happens with the rental program is with budgets, right? Schools have very tight budgets, and there's a push for it. The model becomes a little expensive for schools. We've had coaches tell us, I can buy 4 this year, but I'm not going to buy any. What do I tell the 5th player's parents? He doesn't deserve one. He's not important enough to have one. We rolled out a program where we could rent it to the school, a yearly rental, and they get 25, 50, 100 of them, depending on the size of the school. We sold out instantly of our first round of inventory, literally in days. And that model seems to really resonate. They can be guaranteed any updates in technology we have, changes in pads, colors, etc. And again, that is the gateway to becoming mandatory and a preventative.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Dave and Jeff, for telling us about what you're building with Guardian Athletics. And I appreciate all of the questions that came in during that timeline. Again, I added a link directly to Netcapital for that, so you can go visit Guardian Athletics on Netcapital. Of course, you can learn more. There's a questions section, and of course, you can invest. Keeping the progress growing here, we're on to our second presentation for the evening. It's BioVerge, and so I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste that link over into chat now. And Neil, why don't you come in and tell me all about BioVerge, please?
Great, thanks, Eric. And first of all, can you see my screen?
Yes, we can. Perfect.
Okay, excellent. So thank you very much. So Neil Littman, I'm the founder and CEO of BioVerge. At BioVerge, our mission is to bring science fiction to life. So we are an impact investment platform with the goal of funding visionary entrepreneurs. We are focused exclusively on the healthcare vertical. So think of us as sort of a merger between someone like Netcapital, that is an equity crowdfunding platform, and a platform like AngelList, that is really more focused on the venture capital side of the market and dealing with accredited investors. Our thesis is focused specifically on the healthcare vertical. However, health is universal. Health affects all of us. And so we really do feel that by building what we call a network model, we are able to not only source the highest quality deal flow, we have folks in our network that are subject matter experts and key opinion leaders in various aspects of healthcare. from clinicians to researchers to folks that have expertise with the FDA and the regulatory pathway to manufacturing. And they help us diligence that deal flow. And then, of course, they help us support the companies that come through our ecosystem. So we provide a lot of value added support to the companies that come through our platform. And for us, that's a key differentiator. And it's a self-fulfilling feedback loop because that actually helps us attract the highest quality deal flow to our platform as well. So I always like to start with one of the origin stories of BioVerge. This was from my former life, where I ran business development at the California Institute for Regenerative Medicine. I got to know a little girl by the name of Evie and her parents. She would come to our board meetings at CERM, different conferences, and talk about her experience. Evie was born with a genetic disease called severe combined immunodeficiency. Children born with SCID do not have a functioning immune system. Their life expectancy is 20 to 25 years. They are in and out of the hospital throughout their short lives with severe infections. At the age of 1, Evie was treated with a gene therapy that my former employer, CERM, had funded at UCLA. It was a one-time curative treatment. And fast forward to when I met Evie, she was about 6 or 7 years old and she was cured. She lived a normal life. She went to school. She had a dog, right? All things that would have been previously impossible for Evie or any of the other children that were born with SCID that were also treated in the clinical trial. And so it was a really inspiring story. And by the way, that technology was spun out of UCLA into a biotech company that went public at over $1 billion valuation. So at BioVerge, we're looking to support these types of technologies that can have this dramatic impact on people's lives and also generate a financial return. We've assembled a team with a diverse skill set. We all have deep domain expertise within the early stage healthcare ecosystem. I mentioned my background at CERM. I was part of the executive leadership team. I also ran business development at Notable Labs, which is a oncology company that has raised about $65 million of venture funding based in the Bay Area, which is where we're located. Prior to that, I worked on Wall Street. I did healthcare investment banking for about 6 years. All my clients were emerging growth biotech companies. I have a master's in biotechnology from Johns Hopkins. I studied molecular biology, worked in a virology lab for a number of years. My co-founder, Rick Gibb, is also the chief operating officer. Prior to BioVerge, he spent about 4 years at Stanford University in the office of the CFO, managing their $450 million venture fund. He was focused on technology that was being spun out of Stanford within the healthcare vertical. And then we have other team members as well. Marianne Santaguida is our entrepreneur in residence. She was with StemCentrix as an early employee. That company was acquired by AbbVie for $9 billion. And then we have Janine McCargo, who's our head of PR, and Emily Wan, who's an analyst with BioVerge. I'm going to talk a little bit about our thesis. So we really do fundamentally believe we're in the age of biology. And what we mean by that is we're seeing things like gene editing and gene therapy, like the program that cured Evie. They're here today. Those things are happening. That's not science fiction. That's not happening 10 years from now. Look no further than the mRNA vaccines developed by Moderna and Pfizer that have literally led to vaccines being distributed to millions of people worldwide. We're focused on genomics, artificial intelligence, and machine learning, digital health, and digital therapeutics. But we're not the only ones who are focused on this, what we call secular mega trend of the convergence of healthcare or biology and technology. You'll see on the left-hand side of the screen, there's a lot of major venture capital funds that have raised hundreds of millions of dollars that have a similar investment thesis. Andreessen Horowitz, Founders Fund, Lux Capital, just to name a few. And on the right-hand side, you'll see some of the early companies that were leading the track in terms of this convergence idea. 3 of them have gone public just in the past couple of weeks. Recursion went public at a $5 billion valuation, and Zymergen went public at a $3 billion valuation, and Ginkgo Bioworks went public via a SPAC at a $15 billion valuation. So these were some of the early adopters, early movers in the space. What we're doing at BioVerge is we're supporting the next wave of companies that are coming through. We've built a portfolio now of 26 companies that we've invested in and supported through our platform. You can see some of the different sub-verticals within healthcare that we're supporting. I won't go into all these details, just a little bit about our traction and historical performance. Across our portfolio, we have a 28% unrealized gross IRR. The middle box is actually already outdated. We have 26 companies in the portfolio. We've completed 35 deals to date. We have multiple companies in the portfolio that are valued over $100 million. All of the companies in our portfolio are still operating. a lot of our companies have been backed by some of the biggest names in Silicon Valley and beyond. These are a lot of names that you'll recognize. Just in the interest of time, I'll sort of move through these next couple of slides. Notable Labs is just one example. This company was backed by Founders Fund. They most recently completed a $40 million Series B. We actually identified and invested in them very early on in 2016 in their seed round. We've invested 4 times in this company and supported them. They're a precision medicine platform that is able to pretty accurately test different drugs or combinations of drugs against an individual patient sample, and they're focused on patients with blood cancer. So they can tell if a patient will respond to a given drug or drug combination ahead of prescribing that drug or that drug combination to a patient. They're working with a bunch of pharmaceutical companies in clinical trials right now. If you zoom out to our entire portfolio, you can see on the left-hand side, these are top performing companies in our portfolio where we identified and first invested in them in terms of their valuation or valuation cap, and now what they're valued at based on their last round. So we've had some significant markups in our portfolio. The right-hand graph shows that total portfolio, we've had a 2.3 increase in portfolio company valuation since we first invested to today. Now, that's not our only business model. So I just, again, want to take a step back. We have the online venture capital business, which is akin to AngelList, where we receive management fees and carried interest. So from your standpoint as an investor, you would basically be investing in that business and taking a general partner or GP ownership stake because the management fees and carried interest flows back to the operating company that you would be investing in. We also recently launched a equity crowdfunding platform. So that would be similar to Netcapital or Start Engine or WeFunder or Republic, for example. We charge transaction fees on those offerings. So those are both cash-based transaction fees and equity for upside. Plus, we get management fees and carried interest on Regulation D deals. So we believe that that's a nice complement. Again, all focused within the healthcare vertical. I'm going to just skip this slide in the interest of time. And I do want to talk about the opportunity to invest in BioVerge. So we are currently raising $1.07 million via regulation crowdfunding on Netcapital. The use of proceeds is really growth capital to deploy in terms of product development, sales and marketing, building brand awareness, general corporate purposes. You can see all the terms outlined on the Netcapital offering page, which Eric showed via the link. Why invest in BioVerge? Well, we're a high growth fintech platform. We're focused on impact investing, focused specifically on the healthcare vertical. Each of our companies that we support represents asymmetric upside for every company within the portfolio. You have the ability to gain what we consider general partnership interest by making an investment in BioVerge from the venture capital portion of our business model. Plus, you get the upside via the enterprise value in the growing platform itself. And again, that benefits from the regulation crowdfunding aspect of the business. We are pretty prolific in terms of generating content, educational resources. We have a podcast that is a bi-monthly podcast that does a deep dive on different scientific aspects, but does it in a way that the general public can understand. We have a blog. I'm a contributor to Forbes. So I have a couple articles up on Forbes.com. You can learn about early stage investing. You can learn about investing in healthcare. So part of what we're trying to do is educate folks as well as provide the platform to democratize access to early stage healthcare investments. At BioVerge, I'll just wrap up by saying, we believe we can all do well by doing good.
So thank you so much for that, Neil. And so everybody knows, it looks like there might be a little bit more flexibility in time today. 2 of the issuers are in the middle of different respective obligations. And so we might have a little bit of extra time. If they are able to join, we'll continue with the programming as scheduled. But if there is more availability, then I will circle back and add more time for each of you. And so, Neil, I wanted to mention that while you're going, but you did such a comprehensive job. But recognizing that we might have a little bit more time, I love the idea. It's relatively meta of a funding platform raising capital on a funding platform. And so it's been a pleasure to host you on this. Your experience and your background, I think, speaks for itself. And you did go into the successes to date. But if you can talk a little bit about where you see the future of BioVerge going, what is on the real near-term horizon that you weren't able to cover here that you think is really exciting?
Yeah, thanks, Eric. I think that's really critical. So our goal at BioVerge is to truly democratize access and allow anyone to invest in early stage healthcare. And to do that, we recently launched our equity crowdfunding platform and business. And so that is brand new for us. We have one offering that is live on our funding portal now. So as we think about growing and scaling our business, the Reg CF portion of our business is going to be super important and super critical for us to realize a tremendous amount of value for BioVerge and our shareholders. So the venture capital business is what we've been doing for the past 5 years. That's been working really well. We're seeing a lot of traction with our portfolio companies raising additional rounds at higher valuations. That's working really well. So we're going to keep doing that. We're going to scale that a little bit, and then we're going to layer on top this whole equity crowdfunding piece. And just so we're clear, BioVerge is differentiated in the marketplace because we are the only equity crowdfunding platform that is open to both accredited and non-accredited investors and focus on healthcare. And again, we believe that the healthcare really provides an advantage to us because it allows us to provide value-added support to the companies that come through the platform, which also means we can attract higher quality companies to our platform.
Yeah, the additional support services that you provide, given your background and the team that you've assembled, I think it makes a ton of sense. My family is largely medical. My first venture was medical technology, so love what you're doing. Keep up the good work, as I strongly say for all of our issuers here. But Neil, it felt like you want to add a little bit more.
Yeah, just one other thing. I mean, we really do believe in giving everyone, literally every American, the opportunity to invest in the future of their own health. So, Eric, going back to your point, we really think the sky's the limit here in terms of how fast we can grow. And if you look at, let's just take an example of the health charities in this country. $30 billion is donated to healthcare related charities. We know people care about health, different diseases. People participate in all kinds of different walks and runs and charitable events. We're not taking away from that at all. In fact, we're partnering with disease foundations. We're providing another avenue for people to invest in the health related causes they already care about, plus giving them the opportunity to generate a financial return. So we really do think this is universal. And 90% of the US population are not accredited investors, have never had the ability to invest in these types of high growth, compelling startups before. And so that's really the democratization that we live and breathe every day.
Absolutely, Neil. And it looks like some people agree with you. We've seen some investment come in during your presentation. So that's great. Welcoming them to the family. We're going to continue along here. Thank you so much, Neil. Robert, I see that your screen is off. I know you're with the EnergyX team. Yep, coming back on video. Great. It's my pleasure now then to welcome Robert with EnergyX to come speak about his company. I'm going to add that link directly into the chat as well. And I see that you're sharing your screen. So I'll let you take it from here. Come on in, Robert.
Cool. Thank you, everyone. Eric, nice to see you again. It's nice to be here with everyone. My name is Robert. I'm the VP of Business Development here at EnergyX. Again, it's a pleasure to be with everyone today. I'll be kind of jumping around our new deck here. But EnergyX is a renewable energy company that is looking to optimize the energy storage space from the materials that we put in the battery all the way to the actual battery itself. Currently, we are working on two initiatives, a direct lithium extraction technology initiative and a solid state battery initiative. And both are derived from a technology that we licensed from the University of Texas around a nanotechnology MOF membrane extraction technology. And currently we have raised around 20 million to date, just actually closed our Series A and are joining back on here with Netcapital to continue to raise funds via the crowdfunding platform as we see just large benefit out of building an investment group behind us and momentum behind us as we look into further markets such as the public markets as we grow here. And currently, like I said, we're working on two kind of initiatives. The solid state battery initiative that we're working on is very much so in the research and development phase. To elaborate on our research and development, we are in this period currently of a transition out to our lab in Austin, Texas, where we are refining and further developing the research of our solid state battery technology. This is around, again, 10% of our current business. But really this transition out to Austin is to support the high growth and development of our lithium extraction technology, which we are currently in target to pilot out on our customer sites by the end of the year, with a timeline to bring a more demonstration scale pilot to around 2020, midsummer 2022, and then a full-scale commercial project by the early summer of 2023. And currently there's lithium extraction, and the lithium market is extremely hot with the incoming new government in the United States around pushing high EV technology and battery technologies at the forefront of electrification of the vehicle industry. And we are looking to apply technology really to help meet this growing delta between the demand for lithium in electric vehicles and where the current supply in the United States and the world is. We're currently about 3 times oversubscribed in the demand versus supply. And currently there's around 2 different types of extraction for lithium in the world. There's brine extraction, which you can see in this picture here, in this pond method, which I'll elaborate further on. And then there's hard rock mining, which you can see as kind of like digging a hole in the ground, if you will. And from our standpoint, the hard rock mining has a lot of exploration risk in comparison to brine mining. Which is why we decided to really focus in on the brine mining process for our entrance into the market. And to elaborate on that further, current methods for extraction using brine mining are fairly inefficient, around a 20 to 40% recovery rate of lithium. And this is due to large losses that occur in the pond system as the water is evaporated and salts slowly precipitate out of solution. So what we are doing is looking to apply a technology and a solution that kind of helps remediate this issue and improve technology or improve our recovery from 30, 40% up to 90%. Currently, a lot of competitors are looking at doing away with this pond infrastructure and trying to extract lithium directly out of the ground. But this would be essentially kind of telling oil and gas companies to get rid of their existing infrastructure and go with a whole new fracking technology in and of itself. So there's been a lack of traction in that department with technology adoption, and EnergyX has taken a new approach and has a patent pending process currently that applies our technology along the current extraction process, reducing these losses in lithium precipitation, but also while working with the customer's current infrastructure to supply that higher recovery rate. And there's a lot of benefits out of this. We've seen a high reduction in capital and operational expenses, not to mention, like I said, the high customer attraction that this application process has. And it's exciting times at EnergyX. Again, like I was saying, we're in the process of taking this membrane technology into the field and piloting, and are expanding our operations from a team of 15 people to over 50 over the next couple of years into our lab in Texas. So I'm really excited to be raising capital here around this initiative of the development and commercialization of our extraction technology. And excited to again, just be further raising with Netcapital here for the second time.
Thank you so much for joining us, Robert. It's always a pleasure to have you. Yes, congratulations on finalizing the Series A at 20 million and raised, and obviously we had success together, selling out your previous $1 million round on Netcapital. Can you tell us a little bit more about traditional, I don't know, efficiency rates? Like I'm sure there's a very specific term here, but my understanding is that about 30% or less of the lithium is actually being able to extract during a traditional model, and then there's a whole different higher amount, closer to 90% through the EnergyX model. Can you dig deeper into that for us, please?
Yeah, of course. So the EnergyX model is really just reducing capital and operational expenses by applying our technology in line with the current infrastructure, rather than having to apply a technology at the beginning of the infrastructure. And really what that comes down to is us treating a significantly less amount of brine through our system than what other technologies would be doing. So in this pond infrastructure, right out of the ground, right here is where a lot of the direct lithium extraction competitive technology companies to us are looking to apply their technology. This would be the Lilacs of the world. While this is a very needed process, and we are looking to apply our technology through a Generation 3 approach in this process, because there are a lot of junior miners and produced water opportunities from oil and gas companies that don't really have the infrastructure for or the land for a pond extraction method, and are looking to just apply technology right at the brine source. This is a great technology. However, there's just very high energy and water costs associated with this. And again, this is kind of counter to what the existing infrastructure is at a lot of these large producers on site. So what EnergyX has applied for a patent pending application method for is applying our membrane technology in line along the pond infrastructure at the point of the largest losses of co-precipitation of salts in this pond infrastructure. And that essentially unlocks from 30% recovery rate to 90% recovery rate in lithium, because we're applying our technology at the point where that lithium is being lost at the most critical juncture. And that's where you see here, we would be taking that lithium recovery into the 90% range at a stable range versus it dropping off significantly. And again, what this application process really does is it reduces the operational expenses drastically, because again, we are treating significantly less brine than our competitors, and you're also applying a lot less electricity amongst a large difference in additional chemical additives into the process as well.
Absolutely. And so for the rest of the participants and panelists, please know that I have confirmation that we're going to be maintaining the 3 presenters that we're currently speaking right now. And so I'm going to circle back and allow more time for both BioVerge and Guardian Athletics, as long as you're still with us and available. So I'm going to add one more question for you, Robert, and then we're going to continue along with the rest of the programming. Robert, so tell me, I often hear, lithium ion, and people appreciate that as battery technology, but why is that? Well, what is it about lithium that's so incredibly critical, and why is that going to be a sustainable chemical compound going forward? Is there something special about lithium, is what I'm asking?
Yeah. Not to get too technical with folks, but lithium is the lightest electron carrying element on the periodic table. Outside of hydrogen, which we're firm believers there'll be great strides in hydrogen in the renewable sector, and we look forward to that. For general transportation in the EV market, lithium is the most suitable candidate and chemical for battery technologies. It is proven technology that is here, that already has market adoption and traction, and the benefits that we get from a reduction of greenhouse gas side of things is just astronomical, and it's hard to quantify. But yeah, lithium is, as our founder's saying, it's the white gold, the new oil and gas, if you will. And we're firm believers that it is going to be driving the next automation for the next 50 to 100 years. And we're just excited to be at the forefront of it.
I remember when I learned that from you and your CEO, Teague. And so I always think it's nice to circle back to that when people think about what is the future, where are we going from here? I've heard about hydrogen. So while we do believe in, while you do believe in support in all sorts of different renewable energies, there is kind of a clear benefit towards lithium. And so thanks for breaking that down for us, Robert. Neil, if you're still with us, I'll just go in reverse order now and kind of work our way back. I'm going to allow you to have 5 more minutes since we have some more availability. And I know you did a really good job of condensing your presentation down. And so let's open it back up for a little bit more if you're open to that.
Sure.
When you think about biomedical as and I don't want to be like overly simplistic, but I know it's medical, it's biotech, I think it's pharmaceutical. When you think of like the large biomedical industry, and that's where you decided to really focus with BioVerge, what was it that's so unique about that industry that made it the compelling and right choice for you for your platform?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a couple of reasons. I mean, one, just sort of given my personal experience, educational career history, along with my co-founder. I mean, that was the world that we came out of. So that was just sort of a natural place for us to start. But why we thought it was a compelling business opportunity was, again, because as I mentioned before, health is universal, right? It affects all of us. I can't see folks in the audience, but raise your hand if you know someone that is affected by cancer or heart disease or neurodegenerative disease, right? We have companies in our portfolio that are tackling all of those different diseases, in addition to some more rare, obscure diseases. But we really, based on our, professional experience, really saw that there was an avenue to allow more people to invest in healthcare because it is universal, and allow them to generate, potentially financial returns by doing so. So we fundamentally reject this idea that investing for impact is mutually exclusive with generating financial returns. I mean, we see that all the time in the biotech sector. I mean, you don't really call billion-dollar biotech companies unicorns because they're so common. It happens pretty frequently. And so for us, it was just it was really frustrating to me that more people didn't have access to invest in healthcare and invest in early stage venture capital as an asset class. Right. Actually, I wrote an article on Forbes.com that talked about diversifying your individual portfolio with alternative assets. That was another reason I started BioVerge, was to diversify my own minuscule portfolio with startups, because I wanted to diversify away from the public markets. I wanted an uncorrelated asset class. I wanted to try to reduce my overall volatility within my portfolio by and intentionally enhance my returns. Right. I mean, if you look at the largest endowment funds in the world, Yale, Harvard, right, they all have significant exposure to alternative assets. Why don't individuals? Well, it's because they were previously prohibited from this asset class. So we're trying to really democratize access. And we really do think that health is a great place to start. And again, one of the things that we're doing is we're partnering with disease foundations. So we just announced a partnership with the Epilepsy Foundation, for example, where we're donating a portion of our fees to the Epilepsy Foundation in support of an offering that we currently have on BioVerge's funding portal. So we think that's pretty novel. We think that's pretty exciting. And we think that's something that people can really get behind and support.
Absolutely. And a quick follow-up to that, if I may, when you talk about the kind of meticulous vetting that your team can do because of your background and your team's background, can you, that big picture, like without being too specific or too proprietary, what are some of the things that you really like about the industry, or what are some of the things that your company considers in their investment theses? And then if you could, just a little bit also talk about some of those potential returns. And I want to be very thoughtful about saying, certain returns are not realized, certain returns are unrepresentative. I don't want people, being, you should invest what you're comfortable losing. So with that kind of big caveat, can you talk about how your structure and vetting influences the way that you're able to advise and support these types of companies going?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. On the Reg D side, what we've done historically is we leverage subject matter experts to help us in the diligence process. We're going to do the same thing on the funding portal. There are certain specific diligence requirements, that FINRA regulates. We do more than that, but we have to be very careful about saying, investors have to do their own diligence, don't rely on our diligence, all of those sort of caveats. But, part of our model is we do have a healthcare-centric network. Those folks do help us do a deep dive on the science, on the risks associated with whatever that next killer experiment is that needs to be hit to realize that next value inflection point for the company, right? There's a lot of scientific, there's a lot of biology risk in the types of companies that we're funding. And so we want to leverage people who have expertise in those different domains to help us assess that technology. So we really do try to look at everything from a risk-adjusted return perspective. And we think that's really critical because, I think one of the other things which I didn't mention is we're not really focused on volume at BioVerge. We're focused on high quality companies. And so, you're not going to come to BioVerge and see 100 companies listed on the platform at any given time. We're going to have a select number of offerings that, we feel are very promising, that we feel are worthy of support. And those are the ones that we're going to offer for folks to invest in. And then the other thing that we do, I think, which is unique, is we really try to interpret oftentimes very complex scientific jargon and distill that in ways that people can understand. I think historically that's been a major barrier for people to invest in healthcare, is because it's very complex, and it's very hard to understand, FDA regulatory risk or this experiment or that experiment. It's much easier to understand, a consumer company that's growing at, X% month over month in terms of user growth rates. It's much harder to understand what's the next experiment that a CAR T company needs to do to, achieve early stage, efficacy. Well, we try to, triage that, and we try to distill that in ways that people can understand what the companies are actually doing that we're supporting on the platform. And we think that's really critical. So communication is really key. And the one other point that I'll just mention is we really try to do a good job of differentiating between science experiments and investable businesses. We see a lot of companies that are more science experiments and that aren't ready for our funding platform or for really any funding platform. And so, a lot of what we do is sort of triage between what's a science experiment and what's what we think is an investable business.
That was great, Neil. I appreciate that really kind of like cohesive, but also very concise explanation of the way that you think about the investment process. And very excited to see the overlap between the Netcapital platform and the BioVerge platform. I think there's a lot of opportunity there. So if we can continue along with our last couple of minutes here, David and Jeff, I'm not sure if you're still with us, but I think, David, you tend to stick around the entire time. If you want to come off of mute and turn your camera back on, I'd love to welcome you in for the final couple of moments and see if we can get a couple more questions about Guardian Athletics. Again, Dave? I appreciate it. Oh, I see Jeff, you're with us.
Yeah.
Okay, hey, Jeff, if you want to turn on your camera, we can go with you for now, and we can kind of guide this through. Yep.
You have my camera off, so I need you to turn it on.
Oh, I can't turn it on. I did turn it off. You're absolutely right. But if you could turn it on from your side, you can. If not, we can go purely audio.
Oh, we're gonna have to go audio because when I hit start video, it says that the host has asked you to start your video. Okay, now I can go.
Perfect.
All right, there we go.
Thank you so much, Jeff.
Yeah. So Guardian Athletics and our product called Cato Collar is new technology, but it's proven technology to slow down the head. I think there's a misunderstanding from people that they don't quite understand that concussions occur from movement of the head. And what we do is add to that technology that helmets have done. Helmets absorb energy on direct contact to the helmet. And what we're doing is we're absorbing energy after the helmet's been hit and the head moves. So I think that's a key point to understand that, we even Robert talked about the science. The science behind ours is that if you don't slow the brain down, slow the head down, forces continue to act until it stops. So what we're doing is slowing it down sooner. And it's been proven, our product's been proven to work on people that have bought it for concussion, but it's a technology that was proven in NASCAR. If you slow down movement of the body and the head, you will reduce, they've reduced the traumatic brain injury and neck injuries in that sport. And that's what we're trying to do in football and move into other sports, any activity that wears a helmet. And the key thing with that behind it was you have to be able to perform in sport, in military, and any activity that you have that wears a helmet. And so you can't do what NASCAR did, where you prevent movement of the head. And so we've done something that is entering into an area where we've been so ingrained to think the helmet's the only way to prevent this injury, and it's not.
So Jeff, that was perfect. And we just got a question that came in. Do you have a diagram, and I know Dave has kind of a working prototype a working product with him. Do you happen to have a product or a diagram with you that you could show the participants on the line here? If not, we can make sure we can direct them to the.
You know what? I've got one I can show right now. I'll just show it on here because I don't have our pitch deck. But
perfect.
This is our product. If you look at it from the front, and there's one pad in there, you can have one pad or three pads on this. And this is our mechanism to slow down the head. And if you look at it from this position in shoulder pads, it does not come up like other collars. Other collars come up behind. So we're designed, and this technology was designed by me so that they would have motion of the head. So when you look at it from the side right here, that collar lays flat. So people can get in their stance with their head up. They can look overhead, catch passes. They can turn their head. It allows for full turning. We have had this on players in every position. In high school, we've had quarterbacks wearing it. In college, we've had running backs, tight ends, and passing offenses, defensive cornerbacks, safeties, not just the typical positions of linebacker and lineman wearing a collar. We've had other people wearing this very successfully. In fact, one of the testimonials I got, quick share, was a kid that his parents were going to make him quit playing football going into his sophomore year. He played running back and linebacker. They bought this collar. He played 3 years and did not sustain another concussion and got a small college scholarship offer. And the young man and the parents were ecstatic at the end of his senior season.
Yeah, I think the emphasis on the kind of individual stories and the experience of the athletes and their families is so influential. And so I appreciate you not only demonstrating the product, but also sharing that kind of anecdotal evidence of how it allows people to continue to enjoy the sport that they love. And that's a beautiful story, Jeff.
That's our goal. Our goal is to make the game safer and allow kids to play.
Perfect. Well, with all that being said, I just want to thank everybody for being so flexible with us. As you know, the world continues to spin and things continue to change. And so I know we started off with one plan, but you all rolled with the punches, allowed us to go to the next plan. So thank you so much to Dave and Jeff and Neil and Robert. Thank you so much for the 3 fantastic companies I presented, including Guardian Athletics, BioVerge, and EnergyX. All 3 of the links to those companies are in the chat feature. Again, they're actively raising capital on the Netcapital platform. You can go directly to their links or go to netcapital.com and search those companies where you can, of course, learn more. And if you're inclined to do so, you can invest. I'm now adding a link to our YouTube channel into the chat. As always, this has been recorded. It'll be uploaded shortly by our fantastic team of support led by Lily, who organizes all of these. And so thank you for the entire Netcapital team. Thank you to the participants who spoke and all of the people who attended this webinar. I hope you learned something and enjoyed our time. With all that being said, thank you all, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Take care.
Thanks, Eric.
Thanks, Eric. Thanks, everyone.